This is Sean Gleeson, student number 200236605, and this is my presentation on the 8-bit video game consoles of the 1980s. So we'll move on to the next slide. So for my presentation, I have decided to choose three consoles. I'm going to talk about some of the big franchises on each console, the overall success of the console, and some of the console features. So moving on to our first one, we have the Atari 7800. So the Atari 7800 was released by Atari in January 1986. It was the first console to incorporate backward compatibility without the need for additional hardware, which was, was definitely, the first to ever do that. It was developed by an outside company, which was General Computer Corporation, and it was originally due for release in 1984, but it was pushed back due to the sale of the company GCC to Tremel Technologies Limited. GCC had a background in arcade games, so the actual console was developed to mirror the arcade game experience without any graphical issues. Moving on then to some of the notable franchises on the console, we had Pac-Man, there was Meltdown, Asteroids, Centipede, Double Dragon, and of course Rampage. The Atari struggled to get developers to port games to the 7800 due to the policy that Nintendo had introduced, which was if a third party had developed a game for Nintendo, they weren't allowed to port that to another console for a set period of time. Its first year sales were less than expected, but then it grew in popularity over the coming years. The production of the console completely ceased in 1992. Due to the low investment in marketing and development, the profits for the console were overall fairly strong. And then it also featured a custom CPU, which is capable of moving 100 objects on screen. The backwards compatibility, again, which was a big feature. And it also had an expansion port, which was designed to house a Laserdisc player. The second console then that I'm going to look at is the Nintendo Entertainment System, or the NES. It was released by Nintendo in 1983. After its success in Japan, it was then launched globally. It was the best-selling console of that time. It helped the industry to recover from the crash, the video game crash, which happened in 1980.